Number one, it is not Halloween. There is a coincidence in that they're both connected to All Saints Day, but they're connected to All Saints Day very differently. And so that makes them a little more coincidental. Our Halloween tends to be, well, I'll explain it. Halloween is really, the word means All Hallows Eve. The evening before something is the eve, Christmas Eve. And so it's the evening before All Saints Day, which is November 1, which is today. This is All Saints Day. As far as Halloween, All Hallows Eve, which you might have called it, was always October 31st. And that was a day that was always there. The idea of trick-or-treating is a pretty new concept. As I understand it, the concept, well, I think we'll learn a little bit about it in the video today, that their Halloween was, All Saints Day is kind of like, the different, in the Catholic Church, different days of the year have different Saints Day, and November 1st is for everyone else who doesn't have a special day. And it might have been it might have been made at that time of year because in Ireland there was Samhain, which is a day where they believe the souls of the dead came back. That's possible. There is another Irish connection in that it is believed that about 100, 150 years ago, Irish immigrants to the U.S. used to pull pranks on Halloween, and that became a little more widespread. And those pranks, like turning over your outhouse or letting the cows out of the pasture or whatever they did wherever they were living, kind of broadened into a trick or treat where they sort of got a bribe not to do a trick by giving you a treat. And after the Second World War, that just became a bit broader and more commercialized in the US. And somewhere in the 50s and 60s exploded this thing about going around and getting candy on Halloween. Of course, I did. And when I was a kid, we still went around with bars of soap. And if someone wasn't at their house, they might get their windows soaped, which is not a dangerous thing to do to someone. I suppose later we threw TP in people's trees, but we tend to do that to kids we knew. And that usually had nothing to do with whether or not they were giving out candy. Anyway, another kind of harmless prank. But Dia de los Muertos is a combination of All Saints Day, which disconnected from Halloween, and the pre-Columbian celebrations of the dead. It's a 2-day celebration, and it celebrates life, not death, even though there are some ghoulish images, which we'll learn about, which remind us of Halloween, and which I think confuse it. I should say that it is celebrated in Latin America, but it is a big deal in Mexico, big celebration in Mexico. Mexico is, of course, the largest Latin American country, though I'm suddenly remembering, is Brazil bigger? I'm not sure. But between Mesoamerica, kind of Central America, up through Mexico, it is the largest country. In Mexico, it is actually a 2-day celebration on November 1st, on the eve of November 1st. And November 1st is a day when they believe the spirits of children who have died come back and visit their families. And November 2nd is a day in which they believe that the spirits of older people, adults who died, come back and visit their families. So it's a 2-day celebration, and there's a lot in the symbolism. We'll explain quite a bit of that. It is believed in Dia de los Muertos, so the dead come back to visit us. Children come November 1st, and adults on November 2nd. I'll talk about these things, which are the ofrendas, or altars, that they construct, which have each of the things on here is symbolism that symbolizes something. There's photographs, of course, represent the people, and the flowers, the foods, the breads, and the skulls all have particular symbols, and we'll explain them again as we go on. In some cities, I think this is in Mexico City, they have big parades, and people do dress up and do makeup to look like their skulls are dead. There's a reason for that too. They also go to cemeteries, and in cemeteries, they're decorated. And this is maybe one of the most fascinating parts of it, or maybe interesting parts of it for me, is the way cemeteries are decorated. And in some places, they'll go and spend all night at the cemetery with candles lit. Let's see, like this. They'll light up candles, and there'll be flower petals and flowers decorating all the graves, because they'll believe that the dead they want to welcome the dead who are from the cemeteries to come out. I should have asked, has anybody seen the movie Coco? Just checking through here. Raise your hand if you've seen it. Okay, let's see. Sam's seen it. Sam, you were in the class last week. Great. Sam was a great help last time. You can put up a virtual hand. Margaret's, who is that? That is Marjorie's seen it. Anybody else seen Coco? Coco was really, really good. I finally watched it for the first time over the weekend. I actually got a lot out of it. Caroline has seen it too. Great. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's a kid's film, but it is really entertaining for adults. I loved it. I always say that the definition of a good children's book is that adults like to read it to children because they like it. And so the same thing with a good children's movie. Anyway, you can find out more about that, the cemetery. This is an altar or an ofrenda, which we had at my daughter's house this weekend. And I'll go through some of this, all the symbolism of it, and La Catrine and everything after I show you video about, because I think you'll get more out of it if you see the video. So let me pause and reshare for a video. And it's about a 16, 17-minute video, spit on the longer side, but I asked last week if everyone liked it, and they said they did. I'm going to skip out about a minute and a half or 2 minutes in the middle because they kind of repeat everything, and there's no point in going over the same stuff again. But let's share this video from YouTube, from a PBS station, about El Día de los Muertos.
Día de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead, is not the Mexican version of America's Halloween, but a 3,000-year-old celebration shaped by the indigenous pagan celebrations coming together with the Roman Catholic Church's All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day.
Dia de los Muertos is not Halloween. Some people even refer to it as, oh, it's Mexican Halloween. Well, it's not. It does fall along those timelines. So it starts at midnight at the end of October 31st, and it runs through the end of November 2nd. And it's known as that time where the line between the worlds is thin, the veil is thin, so the spirits are allowed to come home to visit. So you'll see that in lots of different cultures. And yes, they talk about that during Halloween. But again, it's because that festival lines up with All Souls Day and All Saints Day, and that's where the timing comes in.